right? Episode 4 of the Purpose Driven Podcast. Like always, we have a community down in the description. We're gonna plug it in the beginning. It's just go join it. It's amazing. 10 out of 10. We'll buy again. But we had the topic today of exploring emotions and normative thinking. What normative thinking is essentially the process of just the way that the average person thinks. So from your perspective, what do you think separates a person who just thinks normally from somebody who's very successful and just wants to go get it?
Thinking is set on the values that society places on you and how and your socioeconomic status and how you grow up as a person. That influences your normative thinking and the barrier that you set for yourself in life. And the people who are successful that I've met with, I've discussed with, and I've had conversations with, all went past that normative thinking barrier. So if you think about it, why is the government the way it is right now? The government is set at the way it is because certain people have decided that this is the limit that society is going to go to. This is what we're going to hold every person up to. Okay? The moment you start thinking outside the normative barrier, that's when you start getting innovative ideas, and that's when you become a leader. Right?
Yeah,
Elon Musk, for example, he was able to become a successful person and manage 4 and 5 companies at once because he had a vision and he was able to think past that normative barrier. It's like, okay, I'm gonna get a 9 to 5. I'm just going to be as it is. I'm okay with where I'm at. He didn't have a vision. Every successful person has a vision. And in order to have that vision and execute that vision, you need to break that normative thinking barrier that society has put on you and your upbringing as as a person as well.
for sure. And I see a lot of people they like normative thinking because it's a sense of security and people love security in the world. I think, oh, if I get a 9 to 5, it will be super secure and I'll be able to work and make a good amount of money and then hopefully retire at 65, 70, which they're raising the retirement age in the States to like, I think like 70 or something like that, which is insane. But I also want to say it like this. Not everybody's built for the entrepreneur life. Not everybody's built for this because it does take a certain subset of humans to actually go out there and actually create a vision, have an innovative idea. It's not like a person with like a 70 IQ isn't going to go out and like build a whole company from scratch. But a lot of people like normative thinking because of the sense of security that it provides them. Because a lot of people here, oh, starting a business isn't secure, this, that, the third. But I've seen it. I've seen people get fired more times from a 9 to 5 than businesses fail from people around. Um, so yeah, I think normative thinking is like a security blanket as well, and it's also like the idea of exploring the depths of the unknown. Like when we were cavemen and cavewomen running around the world, if we wanted to go explore the depths of the unknown, we wouldn't send the whole tribe. We would only set a select few people who were built different, just built different. And they would go and explore. They would go and explore the new land. And like I said, not everybody's going to be prepared to go do that because it does take a lot of risk mitigation and a lot of risk to go out there and do that. So for you personally, what was the main subset of idea or like the thought process from, going down the conventional like 9 to 5 path to like wanting to create content and like pursue this?
He, I realized just the amount of societal values that has influenced my decision making. This whole time that, my parents and what society has told me, I followed it blindly. I didn't have the maturity or the self-awareness to think that there is a life that you don't know that exists. Like everything that has been told to you influences your decision, right? So the moment you start thinking outside the box, you start seeing opportunities that weren't there before. And then I saw that my thinking has been limited is because I thought that what my parents told me and what society deems as right is the barrier. I can't go past this. There's nothing else that I can do that's better. Like, for example, if my parents say that, um, you know, engineer or lawyer, they want me to become an engineer or lawyer. That is it. Like, engineer or lawyer is your shed for the tree that's growing. It's your shed, right? There's no, you can't go past it, right? Because that's the barrier that you have set for yourself, and that comes from the normative thinking of your parents, your grandparents, your society, the YouTube videos that you consume, right? Everything influences your decision making barrier there, and you set yourself that barrier, and you don't allow yourself room for personal growth. And I realized this, once I hopped on self improvement. I was just limiting myself to societal thoughts and influencing, and I was easily getting influenced by society's expectations and my parents' expectations. And the moment I started self introspecting about every action in my life, I started thinking of ways that I could be better as a person. I started thinking of ways that I could outperform this barrier that has been set, because I knew that I was destined for so much more. And I realized that um, having that self awareness has helped me explore opportunities outside, and that's when I discovered content creation. Before me developing this self awareness, I didn't have this idea of like I could do content creation. I could help young men out explore their purpose. I didn't have this concept, right? But after getting on to self improvement, after realizing that the path that I've been on was wrong this entire time, I realized that there is a life outside of my thinking barrier that has been set on values that have been me. And the only way you can achieve that type of thinking is by really self introspecting every single action that you do in your daily life. Like we talked about in episode one, right? Our journey to purpose. Every single action has to be aligned to your purpose. And the moment you start questioning your decision making, that's when you start breaking these normative thinking barriers, and that's what leads to innovation. That's why these successful entrepreneurs and millionaires and billionaires, they all broke that normative thinking barrier to help them succeed.
For sure. And I like to view it as like this concept. I'm pulling up something right here of the creators versus the consumers. There's two class of people. There's the creators and the consumers, and like obviously the creators are people who create what people consume. And I believe that um like you were saying earlier about like questioning everything that you're doing. Not a lot of people do that. They don't have a sense of critical thinking. They go with the flow, which works, but there's always like some type of event. Like you see these innovators, these people creating, these people making videos. There's always one event in their life that's like, bro, I need to do something different. I need to go out there. There's something missing in the market that I need to provide, no matter what it is. If it's videos, if it's products, like I think like the biggest example and something I definitely want to do talk about is like the Steve Jobs of the world or like the Bill Gates. Like like for example, Steve Jobs, like when he was trying to innovate, he created something called the Garden of Eve or something. And essentially that's the Apple ecosystem that everybody makes. But look, like if you view how genius that Garden of Eve is, he literally locks you in with one device and you're locked into that garden for the rest of your life if you don't want to switch. But like in order for him to create that concept, or in order for him to be like, yeah, I need to create this better computer. I want to make a graphical interface for the computer. He had to go out and be like, this sucks. This is rubbish. I don't like this. This is not good. I know we can do better. I know we can try for greatness. And then he goes and he creates the results that of his thinking. And for a lot of people, it's that critical thinking aspect that is going to allow them to break through the normalized thinking, the way that they think, and actually get there. So I guess like, why do you feel is like this is kind of a question. Was like, how's I going to frame this in terms of being able to get to that critical thinking point? What do you think the average person, like the person, like I say, 18 through 25? What processes of thinking do you believe that they have to go through or even question themselves in order to get to that point where they're able to think of something higher that they're doing uh, than right now?
They have to realize that their view on life is influenced by the people around them. Every single action, every single decision, every single step you take in life is influenced by someone in your life. It could be your parents, it could be your friends, it could be your distant family members, it could be the YouTube videos that you watch, it could be anything. So just having that awareness of, okay, so I am thinking this way because this was my childhood and these are the expectations that have been put on me according to my parents, and this is what they think is right. Acknowledging that and knowing that you're capable of so much more is the key to achieving that critical thinking. It all comes down to self-awareness.
So it's like
Every it
reverse
all comes down.
engineering your thought process, like reversing engineer, like why do I think this way? Does this serve me right? It's reverse engineering the thought process. I would in high school, my last senior year, I studied sociology, and there was this thing called the blank slate theory, which is basically everything you claim. And I believe it as well. You start out as a sponge of a human, and basically your sponge is your brain that adapts to the ideas around you, which forms your view and your output on the world. And I think that's the most critical thing ever because to be quite frank, we're fed a lot of bullshit. Like no matter how much you want to phrase it or however you want to phrase it, what's bad for you that most people claim are good for you, and what's good for you is bad for you. And there's a whole bunch of confliction that has purposely been set in the world to fool people and create more consumers than creators. The biggest example I can give is the Rockefellers, and when they created the school system, he created the school system to have an idea, to have a unity of workers. Like that's the reason the school system was created, to have a unity of workers so that there will be less business owners. And that's how society is set up. The society is set up for you to work under somebody and with this false hope and expectation for you to eventually make it up and go from there. And I
And
believe
to
that,
add on to that, so the modern education system is designed after the Prussian education system. So it's designed to literally make you think like an employee. So they don't want critical thinkers anymore because they want more workers because and technology is growing, people are in need, so they just want to design more workers so that because the more critical thinkers you have in society, the more danger you're gonna have to, you know, that how much society can really control you. Because
yeah,
the more critical, if you critical think, if everyone is able to critical think in life, there wouldn't be any governmental regulations, and then there wouldn't be any orders to follow because everyone would start questioning. Right, the
yeah,
moment you start questioning things, that's when you're breaking that normative thinking barrier because you
yeah.
start questioning everything, and that requires self-awareness. In order for you to question something, it really requires you to think, okay, why is this happening to
What's
me?
the bigger
and
picture? Yeah,
and then look at the bigger picture,
yeah,
zoom out.
exactly. Exactly. You can even see like the way society is going right now, like in terms of like, bro, you notice how short form's been popping off, short form content, easily addictive content that you can consume for hours. It goes to show that the tech companies are I think they're preying on our downfall. To be quite honest, I've been into computers for my whole life. I'm very into technology, and then from also doing sales, I understand how the brain works more. And there's actually like a study. I don't know where it's at. But if you go like this motion right here, literally like produces and makes your brain go crazy. It's like, yeah, I like that. So I see a lot of there's a lot of things like there's a lot of like limiters throughout society, like the way things are and the habits that the modern society forms upon people that really cause them to lose the ability to critical think. They're just not able to do it because they're just so caught up in consumption. And I think the moment you move yourself out of consumption and into a world of like reinstating the blank slate, which is essentially you moving your way out of consuming content, looking at other people's ideas, and you spend some time with your own mind, then that's who you figure out who you are, what you want to do, what purpose you have in place, and really how do you want to go live in life? Because like I said, the major problem now is everybody's caught up in consumption, and consumption makes you brain dead at the end of the day. It really does. I hate to inform everybody, but if you're not, even if you're consuming educational content and not actively using that educational content to implement to work towards a goal, then your knowledge is worthless at that point.
Exactly. It's at that point you're basically passively consuming content. Anything that is not active learning, you will not retain. Anything. So any video that you watch is action step for anyone that's watching. Make sure that you get some type of action step out of what you're watching. So if you're watching a podcast like this one, or if you're watching a video, or if you're watching something else, right? Whatever you're watching, try to get an action step or a certain um, habit that you can implement into your daily routine that will help you get closer to your goals, because that is the only way you're going to be able to retain the information that you saw in that specific video. And I think
Yeah.
that's the best way to accelerate your growth.
Yeah. Or even like writing down like the major key point of what you learned and really exploring it and see how that key point can really help you out in the future. For example, I'm into trading. I like to trade, so every time I watch a video on trading, I have to implement it or the knowledge is useless to me. It's kind of like your brain is really bad at remembering things, and that's one of the bad things about your brain. Like if I try to ask you how did the weather feel outside 5 days ago, you probably look at me like I'm fucking crazy. You probably like I don't know how the wind felt, I don't know what it felt. But like it's like a countdown in your brain. So as soon as you consume information, there's like a countdown timer that's slowly counting down. The only way to make sure that timer doesn't hit zero is for you to actively implement the knowledge that you use. Because if you don't, well, then it just kind of goes away. And then the only time you'll be reminded of it is when something related to that topic that you learned shows back up in life, and then your brain will resurface it and you'll remember. So that's like a huge thing. Now, in terms of like, I know we had like for exploring emotions and normative thinking, how do you think emotions correlate with normative thinking?
It's a good question. I think I think emotions can influence your normative thinking depending on depending on how depending on the emotion. So, for example, you have a certain set of normative values that have been set on you since you were a child, right? And your emotion can help you like with that normative thinking. So for example, if your normative thinking values are um I want to be a lawyer and engineer, and that is the barrier that I've set for myself, and let's say all your all the influences in your life are helping you get to that level, and that you think that's your ceiling and you can't go past that. If you have a positive feeling or a positive emotion, that will help you accelerate that normative thinking, or it will help you achieve that goal faster. Whereas negative thinking, like, no, I don't think that's my barrier, I'm capable of more than that, the negative emotion will help you think, can help you break that normative barrier. So in a unique way, negative emotions can actually help you break the normative barrier, because
Yeah.
it makes you more dissatisfied.
Yep.
Your level of success is directly correlated to the amount of dissatisfaction you have in your life. And
Mhm.
I got this from watching a YouTuber, and honestly, like that quote hit me because it's like that makes so much sense. Like if you're comfortable with where you're at, that means you're good with the normative thinking barrier you have. You're emotionally stable and happy with where you're at, and you don't want to go past it. Because in order for you to go past the normative thinking barrier, you need to experience a lot of negative emotions:
Yeah.
fear, anger, distress, hate, um, resentment, every negative emotion you can think of. And you have to fight through all those emotions to get to where you want to be. And that is
Yep.
the path that you're choosing, but the reward is much greater than the journey.
Yep. And we were taught that when I was doing closing for an offer, you can only help people make decisions when they're emotionally attached to the decision. It's just basic human psychology. Like for example, like drug addicts aren't gonna quit drugs because until they find a reason to, until they find a reason that is so emotionally like hurting them that they're like, bro, I can't do this no more. Let me just throw this away and go change. But it's like in order for you to have change, you need to feel some type of negative way. You don't wake up happy and like, yeah, I'm about to go, fix this about my life and fix that. No, you have to like look in the mirror and be like, fuck, I gotta change this, I gotta fix this. Let me go do it. But the whole point of me bringing that up is because in order for change, there has to be a huge level of negative emotion in order for you to actually actually want to change and then go forward with the change. Because wanting to change, I hear people, fucking normies, I hate to say it. They're in the New Year time, they're like, oh, I have New Year resolution. Fuck your New Year's resolution. You're just getting little dopamine highs. That's all you're getting. Like you're like a brain dead like twig running around. Like it doesn't mean nothing. But actually wanting to change requires negative emotions to go do that.
I read this one study where it was like the amount of gym memberships in the first week of New Year just go up by like 50%. And then they just
Yes.
maintain their gym memberships. Like the gyms are so smart. Like they give you offers
Yeah.
for like New Year. So then people who want to get to the gym, they start signing up for the gym memberships, but then in a week they just give up because they
Yeah.
have no power to get through it. Then they decide that I'm just going to keep my gym membership and I'll go sometime, and that's how the gyms get their revenue, which is an insanely
Yeah.
smart tactic, but it just goes to show you the mindset of people.
Shout out to Planet Fitness. They're the biggest finessers in existence.
Well,
I
no.
probably still have one, but I don't live near one anymore, so I probably still have membership for one. But yeah, that's really how it is. It's just like you got to be uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable being uncomfortable in order for you to break the barrier of entry for the mind state that you set yourself up for. And to be quite frank, the best way to view it is it's not even your mindset that you have right now. Your mindset's formulated off of fragments of other people's. So, like for example, if you're thinking some type of way right now, that's not how you truly think. That's the way that you were influenced to think. You got to break the barrier of entry. You got to break the chain. There's a chain around your foot right now. You just got to snap it off and be like, I'm free will and I'm free mind. You can just do that, and a lot of people aren't gonna like hearing this type of stuff, but it's just how it is. And if you can't take truth, well, then obviously you've been led into a lie. That's just how it is. Bars. I'm copywriting that. But yeah, that's really how it is. I mean, nothing more, nothing less. I guess in terms of like people making changes, how do you feel is the best way? Well, we're gonna both answer this question because I have a very unique perspective on it. I actually have a step-by-step process. But for you, when you feel that negative emotion and you want to make a change, what's like your next go-to?
The first thing I would do is I would where the negative emotion is coming from. Right? So why is this happening? Why am I feeling this way? Okay, noted. Second thing, how can I use this to help me achieve my goals or break that normative thinking barrier? Right? What can I do? Right? If you're experiencing that negative emotion with something that you're doing right now, you're probably not meant to do that. You're probably meant for something more, and you haven't tapped into it yet. And your negative emotion is like a tunnel to the other side, right? So you use that tunnel, you channel that negative emotion to figure out, okay, how do I break this normative thinking barrier? Okay, in the engineering example, okay, so my parents set me that I want to become an engineer, but I think I'm destined to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur, but my parents won't agree that entrepreneurship is the right thing to do because of that's their normative thinking, right? Their experience has influenced that normative thinking. Then I would use this negative emotion to be like, what can I do to help me get to that goal? And this is your negative emotion is kind of like use it as the activation energy necessary to get to your end goal. It's a catalyst. Your negative emotion is a catalyst towards success. And that's what I would do. So, first, I would acknowledge that why the negative emotions are happening. Second, I would brainstorm on how to channel that negative energy to break that normative thinking barrier that has been set by society. Third, get some action steps to execute your vision. And four, um, do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it, and go right ahead with your
For
vision.
sure. for sure. So what I do is I'm gonna be quite frank. I'm a simple-minded person. I'm very simple-minded, which I use it to I use it to my leverage because I don't like to overthink, but I don't underthink. So if I feel some type of negative emotion, I'm like, damn, all right, all right, why am I feeling it? Okay, cool. What needs to be changed in order for me not to feel like this? That's what I focus on. I'm like, okay, cool, I have this. That's like, fuck, it is what it is. All right, I'm gonna do my I have a calculated formula to achieve anything I wanted to do. It's called Wasai. Work, suck, educate, implement. That's all it is. So I'll work towards a goal. I'll probably fail at doing it. I'll educate myself. I'll implement the new education that I have, and then I'll repeat the process over until I get to where I need to be. That's it. So it's just acknowledge, understand, accept, and go work, bro. That's all you can do. Um, like that's all you can do at the end of the day is just work. Like what else can you do? What else can you do? You can't sit around. I see a lot of young men do this. They'll sit around and hope for a change. You can't sit down and hope. What you gotta do is work and hope for a change. You can't sit and hope for a change. You gotta work with the expectation of exceeding to no result while having hope and faith within that the work that you're doing will result to the current desired change that you want. So that's really the level of that's how I approach life and everything. It's just like when I work at making a change, I'm not expecting the change to be 100% because nothing in life is guaranteed. It's input versus output. But I know if I put in a certain level of input, that I have to get a desired output eventually. It might not be now, it might be 10 years in the future, but I know that 1 + 1 = 2 in the calculator at the end of the day. So that's how I view the perspective of everything.
And the way to think about that is that, first of all, your framework is amazing because simplicity is always key, and that is an excellent way to structure that, structure the response. Also, what I would say is you have to be able to experience you have to experience some discomfort in order for you to get to success. Like I think like
Yeah,
Hollywood movies have done a really good job of like making sure that like it's as if like some easy journey.
yeah.
It's not easy, guys. Like it's very difficult. You have to just put yourself in uncomfortable situations
Go
every
watch the Karate Kid. Go watch the Karate Kid where they had the motherfucker hanging up his jacket and shit. Like
crazy. You
that's
have to
how it
work to,
is.
and
Yeah.
then to know that the reward is so much better, and the initial discomfort is there, but then the reward is so much greater.
Yeah, and you gotta, like I said previously, you gotta be comfortable with being uncomfortable because success, it's like I had this saying, anything that's notable has pain behind it, and it's the truest thing. Like look at kings, look at emperors, look at people who like historical figures. They had to go through some stuff. It wasn't like they worked, they had to work, fail, probably go below to their new low, work, fail again, and then eventually get to where they wanted to be. And it's not a straightforward process. So yeah, that's about it. But like I said in the beginning, follow the Discord where I will find your house using a VPN tracker, and I will come there and do it for you. And if you don't, well then I don't know. I'll see you if I figure out your legal name.